I wasn't doing these videos when I first started, so you didn't get a look at how the canvas goes on the roof. This is called poor man's fiberglass. And I think really it's canvas soaked in paint. There's a solution of 50-50 glue and paint. You know, a good latex glue. Be careful you don't get, so that it doesn't mix with water, and use a latex paint and wear gloves. And you can mix a solution and impregnate the cloth, but there's a couple things you want to do beforehand, and one is pre-shrink the tarp, pre-shrink the canvas. And I did that yesterday. I put it in a bucket and let it get all nice and wet and then let it dry overnight. It's done its thing now. It's been wet and dry. And then this morning I opened it all up. It doesn't quite fit the roof. It's 12 foot supposedly, but it's not 12 foot because this is only 11.5 foot from end to end. So this is less than 11.5 foot. It's actually about 11 foot. But that's the finished size because they hemmed it up. But it'll be close enough. I'm going to do it all because this is the side that needs to be done. You know, the finished size 9 by 12 is never the actual size. I should have got a 14 foot if I wanted to do the whole thing. I know now. So now the canvas is completely wet. What I'm going to do is put it in this big bin that I can work with it. This paint's been sitting out here in the sun, so I'm sure it's separated. I got to mix the paint up a little bit. These are the nappiest clothes I got. So, oh. I got to do another coat. This one won't be as much water, a little water, but not as much water. But the battery's about dead on this, so I'm going to shut you off. You don't want to watch me paint a second coat of this anyway. And I'll see you later. Good morning, Lifers. Thanks for joining us today. This video was actually done a couple days ago, except for this part right here. This is answering viewer questions. Answering viewer questions. I have got to do something about that. Anyway, answering viewer questions. I'm not even going to try to pronounce your name. Thank you very much for the question. I had to translate it. It was on the episode before this one. When is someone going to start acting like a hermit? Is the closest thing that Google Translate came up with. Well, I looked up the definition just to be sure. I mean, I've lived my entire life basically as an eremite, but that's getting ahead of itself. A hermit is someone who lives in isolation or seclusion. That's it. That is what a hermit is. Now, it's an 85-mile trip to town. I have to go 14 miles for water. I am by myself, 2,700 foot above sea level in the California high desert, all by myself. By the classic definition of hermit, I'm already there. Now, I'm not an erudite. I'm not an ascetic. An aesthetic, there's a more definitions for someone who lives by themselves primarily for religious reasons. And not just a little bit, not a lot, but primarily, almost exclusively. That's what an aesthetic is. They're somebody who lives by themselves for inner peace for whatever reason, but is strictly a religious reason. Now, you have recluse. Recluse is someone who lives by themselves because they hate people.
I've erected the biocontainment fields. The area has been sealed.
That's also closer to, I'm telling you, people suck. Okay, most people suck. Most people, not everybody, but most people suck. I have developed a very high sense of morals. There's certain things I respect. There's certain things I expect. Very few people, including myself, can meet to my moral standards. I have kicked myself in the butt so many times over the years over things I wanted to do that I couldn't do because I couldn't equalize these things with my morals. Like just not even a couple months ago, I was offered a big commission in another state, a pretty big, decent commission. I would have loved to have done it, but I couldn't because the group it was for was like totally pro-Trump, whatever. I'm not going to get into politics on this.
It would not be wise to enter into the process.
Well, it's a little bit of politics, but you don't have to be a racist to be a Trump supporter. But to be a Trump supporter, you have to have said racism is not a deal breaker. And for me, it's a deal breaker. So, I mean, Biden's not doing any better. So I'm telling you, the whole system, every one of them, they're all just different sides of the same coin. So anyway, a recluse is someone who lives by themselves because they hate people. Politics falls into that. Religion is erudite. Hermit is just by themselves. Religious reasons primarily is erudite. There's a few other things that fit there, aesthetic. And because you hate people is recluse. I'm not any of those really. I'm basically an eremite. E-R-E-M-I-T-E. An eremite is someone who lives by themselves in isolation. Generally, the desert is the accepted place. It's just because it's an extreme environment. You don't just lightly live in the desert. It takes a lot of work every day to live in an extreme environment every day.
The meteorological conditions changed radically.
So living in the desert is not an easy thing to do. An eremite is someone who has deep religious feelings or deep religion, An eremite is someone who has deep moral feelings, and you wouldn't really say religious, because an eremite is not generally a God-fearing person. They don't have a God that they pray to. An eremite is just like a yin and yang Mother Earth that's closer to the pagan religions, but it isn't a religion. It is just a way of living. It's like there's an old thing, I don't know what you call it, an old wives' tale or whatever, about if there weren't laws and police, why would you not murder people? And I'm like, because I don't want to murder people. I know it's wrong. It's wrong to hurt people. It's wrong to murder people. It's wrong to take a gun and go shoot somebody because they were born on the other side of a political border that exists nowhere except in the imagination of a bunch of rich people sitting around a fancy building. Those people have nothing to do with my life. They have nothing to do with most people's life. I am a person who needs people around me who aren't going to lie to me, aren't going to steal from me, aren't going to do there's certain things. I do not go for man-made drugs at all. I don't take man-made drugs at all. Tylenol is about the worst. They had me on all kinds of pills when I was a kid, and I've had it with that kind of stuff. That's not where I'm at. I live by myself because people suck. Most people suck. People disappoint me. Most people disappoint me. Mankind is greedy. We are petty. We are vengeful as a race. We tend to hurt each other. We reach out and we lash out and we hurt each other when we're hurt. And it's like the whole dominance thing. The old guy that lives down, there's a guy that lives down there, but we met the first night I was here and that's it. He had to immediately establish dominance over me by parking his vehicle. I'm here in my RV and he parks his truck back here at my back corner as far away as he can be. So his horn and his front end is right there, but my door is over here. So he has now established that he is dominant because I have to listen to him, come out my door, go all the way around to the furthest possible point. I couldn't go this way because there's trees and shit. I had to go all the way around. He intentionally tried to establish his dominance over me. And the attitude that came out of him and the hate. I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to live. I mean, I'm not here to rape your daughter. I'm not here to kill your dog. I'm going to go over there in the desert and live. Sorry if that offends you, but he was so outraged at the idea of me going over here to live on this piece of land that isn't even his. I was like, you know what? People suck. And that's why I am a hermit. That's why I am an eremite. I have a high set of morals. You know, I was not perfect. I'm still not perfect. I've never been perfect. I wish I was perfect. That's one of the reasons I live out here. That's one of the reasons I'm a hermit. I wish I was a better person. I was a hellion. Oh, I've been behaved as an adult, but when I was young, I was bad. I was raised by a Methodist minister. My father had a steamer trunk full of Bibles at the foot of this bed. That's how I was raised. So I am a hermit, but I'm not a recluse or an erudite or an ascetic. I am an eremite. So technically, the best definition for me would be eremitic hermit. Good question. Good coffee.